there, friends. Welcome back to Second Star to the Left. I'm Michelle, and this is my daughter, Billy.
Hi.
And here's where we'll share board game reviews, ramblings, and a few wrong turns along the scenic route. Because February is the smallest month, we're going to spend a lot more time this month talking about our smaller games, which obviously on this channel we really love. This is a video that we've wanted to do since we started this channel. And in fact, if you looked at our notes from when we started of ideas of things we could come up with, this was probably in the top 5.
Definitely.
But I never wanted to do it and not do a good job because I really, really love this company. If I'm going to do a Button Shy Games week, which we are, there'll be another video after this, then I want to make sure that I'm showing them off the best that I can and that you get a feel for not just why I like them, but why I think everybody should like them. People ask me all the time, oh, what's my favorite Button Shy game, or where should they start if they want to get a Button Shy game? And that's not an easy question, because the thing with Button Shy games is the only thing that they all have in common is that they're 18 cards, more or less. But other than that, they're all different genres of games. There's strategy games and social deduction games and...
yeah, they can be wildly different.
Programming games. Yeah, there's tons of different styles. So when you say, can you give me the one I should start with? It's going to depend on what games you like to play. I also want to make clear that I am not in any way associated with Button Shy Games, despite me having their shirt on, despite me always telling you how much I love them. But a few things. One, they're local. As far as supporting your local game store or publisher, they're from New Jersey, also known as the Garden State. I think we should petition to have it known as the Button Shy State, but I don't know if I'm going to win that. Billy makes fun of me a lot
You'll have to be more specific.
For my Button Shy collection, which I love. And it goes in this nice little nifty Button Shy game haul bag.
And also this.
Or it would if I didn't have more. Take these back. So I needed a place to start. And for me, the games I play the most often are solo games. So for this episode, we're going to talk about some of my favorite solo games. These games are games that are specifically designed to be solo games, because there are also games that are for 1 or 2 players that I play solo often, or that have...
Hey! You looked at me when you said often.
Well, maybe you should play more. Whenever Billy is off on her computer doing something else, then I use a solo variant of those games. But the games that are right now in this bag are solo games. Part of why I love them is I love anything that's really efficient. I love the idea that you can get a whole game into these tiny wallets, and for the most part, you don't need anything else. Sometimes, however, you do need a few extra pieces. So I keep this little bag in there in case I need some markers, a 6-sided die, something like that to help me with the game. Now,
there's markers in there?
A marker, like not a magic marker.
Markers, not markers. Oh yeah, I knew that.
To track progress on a card or something like that. Billy's helping.
They're very small markers.
Very small markers. Actually, there's some of those really teeny dice that I ordered. I ordered some mini dice because I wanted them to use for marking progress in certain games. I should have probably checked the size before I ordered.
Oh my goodness.
But I got 100 of them. Before we get started, I want to make it really clear that I did not rank these games. I couldn't do it. These are just my collection, some of my collection of solo only games. So if you want to sit down and play a little bit of solo game, this is probably a good place to start. Before the pandemic, I did not solo game. it wasn't something that I liked. I'd been known years and years ago to maybe play a game of solitaire, and I think that's why these games worked for me at first. Now I will play solo variants of great big games, and that's fine too. These are
monsters like Hadrian's Wall.
And giant monsters like Hadrian's Wall. But these are kind of comfort food, and I love them. And some of them are a lot more complicated than others. Some are like a little game of solitaire that you would just play with a deck of cards. And some have lots of moving pieces that you need to keep track of. So again, when people ask me, which one should I start with? Pick a theme that you like and jump in, because there are lots of themes here and lots of different styles. So let's take a look at what's in the magic button shy bag. We're gonna start with one that I don't think gets talked about enough, and that's Banned Books, which is actually designed by Jason Tagmeyer. I got to meet Jason when I took a ride down to Button Shy's pop-up sale a while back, and I got to talk to him a little bit about Button Shy, about what they do. It is a very small company, and they hand pack every one of these wallets themselves. So if you get a shipment from Button Shy, somebody at that company hand packed this for you. It is not some big company with a production line. And I love that about this company. I love that they put that much care into everything they do. Also, they have a really cool truck.
Yeah, that was cool.
Banned Books is a game where you're playing as a literary character from
things.
Keep with me, a banned book. For this game, you choose a character from a banned book. You can choose Atticus or Alice or Sel or Tom or Bernard, Huck, Holden, Lenny. There's a lot to choose from.
I knew at least half of those.
I was a lit major and will always love Atticus, so I choose him quite often. This is one of the games where you're going to need the markers to play.
Do not write on the cards.
In this wallet, you're going to have 3 lanes to set up, and you're going to be programming your moves. I'm going to set this up without the markers right now. And you're trying to use these cards and movement points to score, to complete all 3 of these lanes before you are stopped from doing that. You can use these powers. They're stall, heal, ability, progress, and flip. But every time you use one of these cards, you flip it over. You get 3 actions on each turn, and that includes moving the cards down the line. So you're going to want to balance the actions that you take with moving the cards with your 3 points.
I've heard you talk about this game a lot. You've told me about it. I don't think I've ever actually seen it set up, and it looks really fun.
It is really fun. I will say with any of these solo games, you could technically play them co-op. In fact, later on we'll talk about some that Billy and I did play co-op because it took both of our brain power to try and...
We still lost.
We still lost. I do like a game that's challenging, though. I don't want to play a solo game I can beat every time. That's no fun. Mm-hmm. In Banned Books, as the subject of a banned book, you must take it to your own hands and fight the evil powers that be. You know your story better than anyone else because it's your story. Use the very actions that put you on the banned list to help reverse the banning of your book. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to use Atticus Finch to unban To Kill a Mockingbird. It takes probably about a half an hour to play this game. It is one of the only ones that you kind of need other pieces for, but it is a clever and smart game. And if you like the theme, then jump in and play it. And if you don't like the theme, consider trying it anyway, because it's really just a kind of programming action game.
Could you show me how to play it when we're done?
Yes, I can show you how to play it when you're done. I'm not going to teach anybody how to play all these games because we would be here for 6 hours. But I may do some playthroughs if anyone's interested in seeing one of these played, or 2, or whatever. Just kind of let me know in the comments. The next game is one that is really popular with lots of people who collect Button Shy games. And I will say that there is a huge community of people who collect Button Shy games. And their Discord is always really friendly and welcoming. If you have a question about one of the games, you can jump in there. If you want to find out more information on rules, if you want to see what's coming up next, if you want to join the Board Game of the Month Club, you can do that on Patreon and get one of these mailed to you every month. I do that. This one took me a little longer to catch on to. I know that people loved this one, and this one's called Pentaquark, and it was designed by Mike Mullins. I'm going to read the description because It's very sciencey, right?
All the science.
In this game, you are lending science a helping hand by collecting the 5 quarks that form the Pentaquark at the detector of a massive particle collider. Remember when I said I was a lit major? Yeah, I don't know anything about this.
What's a quark?
I don't know, but there's 5 of them.
I think he owns a bar on Deep Space Nine.
Are you making nerdy Star Trek jokes? Because the science kind of eluded me, that meant the vocabulary for this game was a bit out of my reach. There are really good videos online to help you. And in the end, this is pretty much an abstract game. You are trying to collect a set of these quarks. But you're trying to get them, and you can see right on here that it's up, up, down, and then a charm and an anti-charm. In order to do this, you're going to be dealing out 3 cards onto the beam, and then moving 1 to the background, 1 to the detector, and discarding 1. What you're trying to do is lock them so that they're not free, because if they're free, they could get discarded out of the game, and once you cycle back the deck, you won't get another chance to collect it. In order to lock one of these, you can have 3 colors, 1 of each, so it would be green, blue, and red. Or if they were flipped the other way, you could have anti-red, anti-blue, and anti-green, and that would be locked. You couldn't discard those. Those would be safe.
What?
I know, bear with me. The other way to save a card is to have 1 of the color and 1 of the anti-color. So if I had a red card and an anti-red card, those would be safe, and they would not go into the discard. As the deck gets emptied into the discard, you will then add an annihilate card, which is exactly as bad as it sounds. You'll take this deck of cards, you'll flip it over, and you'll shuffle them up. The reason that you're flipping it over is because all these cards are 2-sided, which means one side is the color and one side is the anti-color. One side is the charm, one side is the anti-charm. So you have both. Now when you deal out these cards, if an annihilate card comes onto the beam, you have to destroy one of the loose cards on the top or the bottom. And they don't come back in the game, which means that every time you go through the deck, it gets exponentially harder to get what you're looking for. A winning set would look like this. It took me a while. I'm going to tell you that it took me longer than it should to figure out the rules of this game. It's worth it to stick with it, though. This becomes a smart little abstract puzzle that you can sit down and fiddle around with. You start to see the strategies. You start to see when you should be putting things in the discard, when cards are going to come back to you flipped over, and how to time that out. It just takes a little while, especially if the science sounds like crazy talk to you, because that's just language I don't have.
It's really pretty, and I want to play with it, but I'm also a little scared of it, sort of like peacocks at the zoo.
But this is... I'm going to ignore the peacocks.
Am I wrong? Because they could roam free, so you want to go over and be
free
like...
particles.
But they're scary. They're little dinosaurs.
Okay. This is pretty much an abstract puzzle, and if you like an abstract puzzle that's not easy to win, it really is not, then give this one a go. It doesn't take that long. You can lose quickly and then start right over again. And I think that's another thing that makes these so much fun is it doesn't hurt when you lose because it didn't take you that long and you could just reset and try again. There's that constant, I can beat it this time that goes on with some of these games.
It's not like there's a lot of setup.
No, this takes 2 seconds to set up. And that's Pentaquark. Ragemore is one of the most recent games that we picked up. And we picked it up after watching a video with Tablenauts and Tikyjo where they were talking about their favorite solo games. And if someone's going to recommend a favorite button shy solo game, then I'm definitely going to have a look. And I loved the art in this game. I thought it was just spectacular.
It's gorgeous.
Evil had beset the village, and we were their last hope. We could not ignore our duty, so we set out on one last quest. We fell one by one until I was the last survivor. Holding steadfast, I swung my axe one last time, and as I crashed to the ground, I knew I had found at last peace. I'm pretty sure the description has me losing. I'm sure that means that they won, but it could go either way. I will say that one of the things that isn't as strong about Button Shy games is that sometimes, because you want a rule book that is just this sheet of paper, there can be some clarity issues. That being said, you can always jump online and find the answer that you're looking for. I haven't ever tried to play a game and not been able to figure it out. There's always been, either in the Discord or a video or somewhere, someone who could help you out. Now, Ragemore has you shuffling up a deck of cards and battling evil, but mostly by matching suits. So you're going to make these 2 sets of quests at the top, and you cannot put 2 suits next to each other that are the same. So you're going to want one that has a set of 3 and one that has a set of 2. And then you're going to deal out your heroes who will be fighting. There you go. And set your mission deck right there. You leave room for a graveyard, which is just as daunting as it sounds, and room for your completed quests. You're going to want to get 2 sets of 3 quests with the same suit on them. The suit is just this number at the top corner. On your turn, you can do one of 3 things. You can explore, which means you're going to match the suits on the bottom of the hero cards to the suits up at the top, and then put them over here in completed quests. You can recruit by bringing some of these evil doers onto the hero team, ne'er-do-wells, and flipping them over by, again, matching suits, or you can fight, where you're going to deal with the current mission. When I learned this game, someone said that the way to learn this game was to learn all the ways that you can lose. Because there's a lot can go wrong. If either of the quest piles at the top disappear, you lose. Oh, no. If either of the quest piles get 4 cards in them, you lose. If you get 3 cards in the graveyard, you lose. If you run out of heroes, want to guess?
You win.
No, you lose. So you're constantly watching all of these things and cycling through this deck over and over again. You're matching suits, you're collecting sets, and making sure that you avoid any of those lose conditions. This one took me a little bit to learn, but once I got it, it's a really nice game to just kind of cycle through this deck over and over until you can collect those. This has quickly become one of my favorite solo games that I have. The next one is one of the prettiest solo games that we have.
Yeah, that one.
However, the patterns in this game and my brain do not work in the same way. I actually had Billy play this one for me today, and she did better than I did, but still
kind of tricky though.
It is. It really is a little bit tricky. And I don't think it's that tricky a game. I just think that this kind of pattern building that the Maiden in the Forest has is not the way that my brain works. I keep trying though, because I figure maybe one of these days that will be how my brain works. You're going to lay these beautiful tree cards out pretty much like a clock. So you're going to lay 12 of these cards out and you're setting them up as if they were a clock. All with the trunks of the trees pointing inward. Right? There we go. And then you're going to take this maiden, who, you know, is in the forest, and put her at the 12 o'clock spot. You have your player aid to let you know what's going on at nighttime, and you have 4 cards to help you with the day actions. You're going to shuffle these up. You're going to take one of them, which will be the suit that you cannot touch. So for this day and night, you cannot touch any trees that have a bird on the top. And the other 3 will be the actions that you can perform during this day.
It's a really neat setup.
It is really beautiful. It is truly beautiful. And these actions are going to let you move cards around because you're trying to get the cards set up so that you can later turn them over. Because what you want to do in this game is eventually turn the tree so the trunk faces out. And then on the next time you get to move that one, turn it so that the branches are showing. And you want to try and do that to all of the trees before your time runs out. Because at the end of each day and night, the maiden moves one more tick on the clock around the circle. You're always having to think at least 2 steps ahead. I'm not very good at that.
I remember from how many times I've won it that time you killed me.
See, I'm getting mocked right now, looking at my favorite games and still being taunted.
If you're going to go get lost in the woods, take this game with you.
Okay, well, I was thinking more like, if you're going to be lost in the woods, this is the most beautiful way to do it.
That works too.
It's clever and it's not easy. There are some variations that you can play. I can't see that this game would get old. I think there's plenty of replay in here because I think it's not easy to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a little bit of luck depending on how the cards get dealt out. There's that, but it's mostly just planning ahead and being able to line those moves up in time for the Maiden to get all the way around the clock. If you're looking for something pretty that's really thinky, this is going to be one to get into. The next game is SpaceShipped by Louis Gentry, which is one of the ones I've learned more recently. I've had it for a while, but I thought it was going to be way too confusing because the cards in this game are most definitely multi-use cards. And when I say multi-use, I mean if they're facing this way, then it's a crystal or merchandise that you can buy. If it's facing this way, then you're looking at upgrades to your ship and or your crew. And if it's flipped over, then it's a planet that you're visiting, either the orbital encounter, the planet side encounter, or the prices you can get in the marketplace. This one takes a little bit more time to set up, not too much. The object of the game is on your planetary adventures to collect 2 Xeno crystals, which you have to buy, and they're not cheap, before the enemy can get 2 Xeno crystals, which happens by you not being efficient enough. So you're buying and selling in the marketplace, you're upgrading your ship, you're trading, you're basically on a space adventure. And it's really clever how you rotate the cards through, flipping them around and turning them so that you use every single part of the multi-use cards. I actually think this is one of the most clever of the 18 card sets that we have.
Absolutely.
It really is. And there is also an upgrade called the Dynasty Seal, which gives you some more upgrades and some more planets to visit, and is worth getting if you're having a good time and you're playing this one. The next one is Twin Stars, which is by Jason Tagmeyer and Mike Mullins. And this one, your 2 cosmic adventurers are in a tricky scenario, and you're trying to beat the scenario, pretty much. To play this, you only need 3 cards. You do, for this one, need some of those markers to track different points in depending on each scenario and to track health.
I don't think I've seen this one before. This looks really neat.
Yeah, this one is really fun. So for each adventure, you're going to need to choose 2 of the aliens. Really great art on these. And then 1 of the adventures and markers to track everyone's health. In addition to the markers, you're going to need 2 dice because there's a bit of push your luck to some of this. So, you know, but you're rolling. Each number on the die will give you an ability. You're trying to get sets of those abilities to score bonuses to let you beat the puzzle, whatever it is. The one I played most recently had you trying to escape from kind of a prison while the guard was chasing you. So this has tons of replayability. In fact, this is Twin Stars Adventure Series 1, and there is also Adventure Series 2. You can mix up which aliens go with which mission for pretty much tons of replayability. Next, we have Count of 9 Estates, which I bought strictly for the art because I just think that it's beautiful and quaint, and it's kind of a resource building, resource management game.
I didn't even see this one.
No, this one's beautiful. In this game, you have 9 estates, which are going to lay out in a grid with nobility being at the top, clergy being in the middle, and peasants being right down at the bottom. And you are going to be building structures using the resources on the cards. And those structures will help you build the estates. When you build an estate on the bottom row, you need to start with the peasants first and work your way up. Then you wipe out that row and column, leaving you only 4 available. And you're trying to get all the way until you can build your 3rd estate and you can become nobility. I am a terrible builder. I think this is a theme of solo games. I love the art on this. I've only played this one a couple of times so far. It is not hard to learn. This one is easy to learn, but it is a little bit tough to win, which again, I really like in a solo game. It's cute. It looks medieval. The art is beautiful. If you want to have some kind of resource building game, this is the one for you to go to. The next one is one that was a birthday present.
Yay!
Yay!
This for me.
And this comes from a trio of solo games. So I'm going to kind of cover this trio at once. And these are by Scott Alms. And these are some of my favorites. I know I said I didn't rank them, but these are some of my favorites. And the trio so far is Food Chain Island, Ugly Gryphon Inn, and Unsurmountable. Now, Unsurmountable is a game where you're a mountain climber in a really tough mountain to climb, and you're drawing cards from your base camp, which, if you're playing on the easy mode, and I'm playing on the easy mode, is 5 cards. And it's pretty simple. Of all of these, this was one of the easiest to learn. On your turn, you can take the furthest left card of your base camp, and you can move it up to the mountain. That would be one option. Or if you don't want to do that, you can use the power on one of the other 4 cards to manipulate the cards in the mountain or to manipulate the cards in your base camp. What you're trying to do is build a mountain that it's like a pyramid. 4 cards on the bottom row, 3, 2, and 1. And you need to connect the trails all the way up to the top. There can be some dead ends along the way. That's fine. But you cannot skip rows. You have to fill in the whole mountain.
Have you ever done it?
Yes, I have.
You actually beat this one?
I beat this game.
Nice.
I thought that this game was really, really easy. Maybe even too easy, because the first time I played it, I won. And then I didn't. I will say that you can mix up the difficulty level on this game depending on how many cards are in your base camp. There are 2 expansions for this game. There is Big Climb, which makes the mountain bigger and adds more cards. And there's Dual Peaks, which has you building, and wait for it, a mountain that has 2 peaks.
Oh, I never saw that coming.
I know. Both of them are really challenging and really fun. This game is absolutely beautiful to have on the table. So a nice solo climb up a mountain. The second one in the trio that I have here is Ugly Gryphon Inn, which is one of my favorites, mostly because of the art. Because the little goblins.
Oh,
and
yeah. I love that one.
Right? This little bunny prince and a time mage and a sleepy summoner. Basically, you're running an inn, and as the patrons at the bar get tired, you move them up to their room. Every time you move a patron from the bar to the inn, you have to look at the conditions that are on the card and see if they've been met, or see if their quirks have been kind of activated, because some of your guests really don't like noise, or some of them hate it when the inn is smelly, right? So then you move them up.
Only some of them?
Only some of them. Some of them don't care. But each of your guests has conditions that have to be met, as well as things that will make them just leave the inn. Some of the guests, when they leave the inn, stomp up and down the halls and wake all the other guests. Some of the guests don't like it if you have too much beer. Some of them don't like it if you don't have enough beer. And as you move them into the inn, you're going to move other guests to the bar. You want to get to the point where you have 7 guests happily in your inn to win. That's it. It seems easy. It's not easy. It's a nice little puzzle with beautiful, fun art. It does have expansions, some of which add more guests, which would be more patrons, oddly enough. You also have employees, which gives you some workers at the inn. But my favorite would be local dragons.
What's that one add?
It adds local dragons.
No.
But in local dragons, if you meet the condition that upsets the dragons, they fly over the inn and scorch it to the ground.
Oh, no.
So if you want to up the difficulty level of your game, you can add some dragons to fly around and burn down your inn. This one is fun and quick and easy. It's one of the ones I turn to when I just want to kind of relax at night and play a quick game. This Ugly Gryphon Inn is one of my favorites for that. And the last one of the trio is Food Chain Island, which is the game I played the most last year. I played this game
more than anything
43 times.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Yes, 43 times. I've already played it probably a dozen times this year. Have you ever gone to a family restaurant where they have that peg game and you're jumping the pegs over each other to leave one peg in the board? And usually there's one that's a colored peg, so you want to make sure you leave that one last. And it tells you if you're a genius or kind of smart, depending on how many pegs you have left. This is that game, but with adorable animals who have powers. So once that peg jumps over the other one, it gets to eat the one next to it. In this game, you're going to lay out a grid of 16 cards, a 4x4 grid, and you're just moving one card over the other in order of the food chain. 15 is going to go over 14, etc. You can move them up to 3 numbers away. But if you don't want to do that very difficult math, it's also written on the card which animals they can eat. I love this game. It takes like just maybe 5 minutes to play. I think you actually timed it today because you were being a big pain in the butt.
I was.
So it takes about 5 minutes to play.
I had the timer and everything.
And you can just set it back up and start again. And the fun part is, if you win, it's already cleaned up for you. There are some expansions for this game that can add some animals, add some challenges, or some safety nets. One is Tough Skies, which has birds. One is Friendly Waters, which has sea creatures. And the last one that I've gotten is Legendary Creatures, which are replacement cards for some of the cards of the deck, as well as some helpers and some challenges. I would recommend any of the expansions, but even without the expansions, I highly recommend Food Chain Island if you just want to fiddle around with some cards and try and beat your own score over and over again.
It's really fun.
It was. Up until now, this was my very, very favorite of the solo games. It's probably the one I still turn to the most.
Up until now?
But it is no longer my favorite. And I did say I wasn't going to rank them. However, my new favorite solo game, which is made by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zivkovic, I'm very sorry if I did that name badly, is R.O.V.E.
Oh, yeah.
The results-oriented versatile explorer.
I love that game.
Think WALL-E and a slide puzzle. You know the puzzles that you used to have when you were a kid where you would have, it's like a 9-square puzzle and you're sliding the bits around. There's one open space and you're sliding those bits around.
I feel like most people watching would probably know it more from video game puzzles rather than...
So most people watching are younger than me. But yeah, it's a slide puzzle. Everybody knows what a slide puzzle is. Basically, that's what R.O.V.E. is. You have this lovely deck of cards. You start with 6 cards that you line up in a little grid like this. And then you get 1 mission that looks like that. And you deal yourself a hand of 5 cards.
And then you lose.
And then you lose. And each of these cards contains how many movements you can make. The top number on the card is how many movements you can make no matter what. The bottom number on the card is the number of movements you can make if the condition on the card is met, which gives you some bonus moves, which is extremely important.
These are your little, like, battery packs you spend.
Yeah, so you need these moves. So if you complete a mission, you just put the nice little robot card on top and you get to do another mission. You want to make, how many do you want? That's a really good question.
I don't know. We've never made it there.
We've never made it there. Sorry, we stink. I think it's 7, right?
That sounds like a lot.
It is a lot. It's so many. Winning the game.
I was so proud.
7 missions.
I was so proud when we got to 4.
Go us. And we got 5.
Oh, did we? Yeah.
Yep. So you want to complete 7 missions. Obviously, it's kind of challenging. The first ones seem easy because you have all these movement cards in front of you, but you use them all up and you don't get them back that fast. And all of a sudden you have 1 movement to move these cards around. Each of these cards moves in a different way. All of the iconography on these cards is spectacular. So once you get the idea, you don't have to look anything up.
Uh-huh.
This one also has an expansion, which is absolutely adorable, and it's called Fascinating Flora, and it gives you some more cards that have some plants, and I swear this is what makes me think of WALL-E. I love this game. I think it's about 50-50 how well we do with it. Mm-hmm. We have played it as a co-op because, like I said before, even though this is a strictly solo game, it was just fun to try and work out this puzzle together, so it can be done that way. If you have stuck with me through all of these games, and you must by now get a sense of how much I love them, I hope that you have found something in here that you would like to try. These games are priced really well. They're packed by hand by a small company who is just extremely personable, extremely talented, and just good people. They come quickly if you order them in the mail.
I think that might just be because we live in New Jersey.
Could be. I highly recommend them, or at least give them a try. It's not a giant investment because most of these games run you about $12.
It's not a giant investment for a normal person, but then...
Okay, so there's a couple more. We'll get to those later. Hopefully you found something in here that seems interesting to you. If you try one, let me know. If you want to see one played solo, including mistakes and probable unintentional cheating...
Don't worry, I'll be there too to laugh at her.
Then maybe we'll do one of those too, so let me know. I promise that we're going to talk about some of the ones that are for more than one person, although we'll probably talk about the solo variant. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about the games that are for 2 or more people. Please check that one out as well. There are so many different kinds of games to look at, and I hope that you find something that you like. I hope that you can tell how much we love these games. If you have any questions about any of them, I will do my best to answer. Again, I am not affiliated with Button Shy. We are just really big fans. Let me know if you've tried any of these or if you might want to try some of them now. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see,
or if you want to keep watching until we get one right,
then please like, subscribe, and share. As always, open tables, open minds, and play your shelves.
Bye!
That's a lot of games. Not to write with, but to track progress on cards. And for most
you
of
could
the
track progress by writing it.
Then you couldn't play the games again.
Hey, just have multiple notepads. That's fine.
This video is gonna take forever.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Atticus looks like Clark Kent.
Well, he does have superpowers.
This one's called Ragemore, and it's one of the more rage. Nice. This is very fun. Dice are fun. I don't know if that's fun. I assume it's fun because you picked it. I'm gonna stop talking.
They're all fun. Games are fun.